The beautiful new transfer student opened her mouth and called me Mom. The school bully scolded her for being mentally ill. But the next day, she called the school bully Dad. And the school bully actually agreed. Immediately after, I received the paternity test report. The unruly school bully blushed. Yes. We have a child. I am Anne-Laure, a child star who has just obtained the art examination certificate. I am preparing for the college entrance examination at school. I suspect that the new female student transferred to our class is my obsessive fan. Because she insists on sitting at the same table as me and then starts staring at me. Even the math teacher couldn't help but point at her. Truly. You always look at Anne-Laure. Is there a question or an answer on her face? A new classmate Truly firmly said. There is beauty. It was like hearing heavenly music that suddenly enlightened my ears. Truly was punished to copy an entire test paper. She still hadn't finished copying by the end of school. I wanted to take a look at how far she had copied. As a result, on the paper was Anne-Laure, born in Fanglin District, Sioux City in 2003. In 2009, she participated in her first work, My Beidou Encyclopedia. She loves me so much. I feel a little ashamed. You can print it. Truly suddenly raised her head. Her deer-like eyes were moist as she looked at me. This is the first sentence you said to me. I want to write it down. She flipped over the densely written A4 paper and wrote on the back the first sentence we said. You can print it. I want to say something but stop. Although you are an obsessive fan of me, I still want to ask how long you have been in this mental state. The school bell rang. The classmates in the class left one after another. I was racing against time to read the new script on the road and accidentally bumped into someone. Sorry. I quickly apologized. It's okay. A very familiar voice. As I looked up, the other person had flamboyant red hair, a straight nose and thin lips. Although there was a hint of a smile, there was a hint of fierceness hidden between his eyebrows. His expression was extremely indifferent. Hiss. Garth. The most unoffendable school bully in this school. Suddenly, I had an inspiration. Today, a new female student named Truly transferred to our class. Do you know her? Garth suddenly fell silent. She is my younger sister. Isn't Garth an only child? I looked at him with sympathy. It seems that there are also troubles in wealthy families. Thinking of Truly's obsessive behavior, I muttered meaningfully, actually, you two are quite similar. Really? He actually heard it. Garth's eye color is extremely light. When looking at people, it's like a filled lake. The eyes of these two siblings are also very similar. I nodded. Really? I have a lines class at night. I have to go first. Goodbye. Garth coldly turned around. I didn't look back and quickly left. In fact, I am a little afraid of him. The Chu family is my employer. Although the Crown Prince Garth hasn't even asked me for a signed photo. But by chance, I only found out that no matter what activities I attend or what film crews I enter from childhood to adulthood, he will follow me and stay in the same hotel as me. He is definitely my biggest obsessive fan. Thinking of Truly, I cross out the previous sentence. Definitely one of my biggest obsessive fans. Last year, Mackenzie from the same film crew came to find me to rehearse lines at night. As soon as he knocked on the door, Garth, who lived opposite, came out. He had a gloomy face and knocked down Mackenzie without saying a word. When I opened the door, I was just hearing him threatening the other person with a menacing tone. Dare to harass Anne-Laure. I will break all 3 of your legs. I was frightened by this scene and subconsciously stepped back. Garth coldly raised his eyes. When he saw it was me, his movements paused. Then he pursed his lips. Said nothing. Behind me were a large group of directors and screenwriters. Some people took the initiative to explain. Some people stepped forward to break up the fight. More people were looking at me meaningfully. The paranoia and violence that Garth showed at that time still scares me to this day. The Chu family is all-powerful in the entertainment industry. The incident of the Crown Prince hitting someone that night was suppressed. But there were rumors flying everywhere about me and Mackenzie. Because the onlookers who didn't know the truth spread this incident as me being her ass and Mackenzie being a hero saving the beauty. Our super topic wayward CP rushed to the top overnight. Later, the company asked me to go back to school and focus on reviewing cultural courses. Only then did I know that Garth and I are still classmates. In the rumors, he is an unruly school bully who never attends classes at school. Some people say this is because his family adopts elite education with numerous courses and one-on-one teaching by famous teachers. No, it's because he followed all my schedules. Wherever I am, he will be there. This inexplicable possessiveness. I never dared to think about it carefully. Compared to Garth, truly makes me feel much safer. On the second day of school, she poured out a huge amount of chocolate from her school bag. Then she started handing them out one by one. Each classmate got a box. When it was my turn, I consciously took a box of chocolate from her hand. Thank you. Not just this. She motioned for me to look down. There was a huge mount and earring bag hidden under the desk. She opened the zipper like showing off, and revealed the brimming chocolate. These are all for you. In a trance, I seemed to see a golden retriever happily wagging its tail. Too much. This box is enough for me. Keep the rest for later. Thank you. I politely declined. But she got excited. Later. So does this mean we still have a future? You really like chocolate. She lowered her head and giggled foolishly. She looked rather cute. However, I don't like chocolate. I don't like and can't like all foods that are high in sugar, fat, and calories. I don't know where she heard the false news. Truly leaned close to my ear in a tone of sharing a secret. By the way, you were so cute when you were little. If I hadn't found the old video from Gossip, I couldn't imagine that you would cry because you couldn't eat chocolate. Crying because you couldn't eat chocolate? I remembered. That was my first commercial shoot. The director needed a crying shot. I couldn't cry no matter what. Later, he scared us and said that all the child actors would never be allowed to eat chocolate again. Only then did I cry loudly. I remember there was a little boy on the set who cried even worse than me. I really didn't expect that Truly would actually dig up that commercial blooper and put so much thought into it. I gently held the chocolate in my hand and carefully put it away. Since I was a child, I have lived under the spotlight and been scrutinized and evaluated. But I never thought of leaving this profession. Because compared to those malicious intentions, I have received more kindness. I pretended to ask casually, Truly, do you have any wishes? As long as it's something I can do. She hesitated for a long time. Then her voice was as soft as a mosquito. Can you kiss me? Me, no. The whole morning, Truly was like an eggplant beaten by frost, lying listlessly on the desk. From time to time, her eyes were full of resentment, as if it was a huge mistake for me not to kiss her. But her eyes still didn't move, always stuck on me. When school was over, Truly walked out the door with her back to me. Suddenly, she said out of nowhere, I have never been kissed by my mother. I was completely confused. Is this a new internet meme? After the first mock exam, the school had a few days off. The company arranged an MV shooting for me. The collaborator was still an old acquaintance, Mackenzie. He is the same age as me. We both just finished the first mock exam. During the shooting, we couldn't resist checking the answers online. We could only say that both of us were in despair. At this time, Truly came. Today she was wearing a black slip dress and a denim jacket. She had a high ponytail. Looking beautiful and cool, she bounced in front of me like a little pony. I brought you delicious food. Wow, you are so nice. After getting along during this period, I found that this is what Truly loves to hear the most. Mackenzie next to me whispered, Who is this? Let me introduce you to. This is Truly, my desk mate. This is Mackenzie, my colleague. Truly's expression suddenly changed. You are Mackenzie. Mackenzie nodded blankly. Under her unreserved scrutiny, he became blushing. I nudged Truly with my elbow. She blinked. I am his fan. While eating, Truly pretended to casually inquire about Mackenzie. What do you think of him? I took a bite of a bagel and said vaguely, not bad. A sunny and cheerful big boy. When being beaten by Garth, he didn't forget his expression management. A born idol. Truly uttered an "oh." Then do you like him? She asked. I almost choked. Truly hurriedly handed me water. I coughed until tears came out. Why do you cough? Think I like him? Could it be that you are still a CP fan? Truly soothed my breath. Her voice was a little aggrieved. How do I know why you like him? No, didn't you listen to the question? The shooting took 3 days. I stayed in a hotel at night. Truly insisted on sleeping with me. In the middle of the night, I was half asleep and half awake. I found that she was hugging me tightly like a little animal, and she was muttering something. I leaned closer to listen. She was calling, Mom. The next morning, someone knocked on the door outside. I opened the door yawning. It was actually Garth. He was wearing a baseball cap. Frowning. Is there anything? I was suddenly wide awake. He asked, Is Truly with you? Yes, but she hasn't woken up yet. Garth looked unkind. Can you wake her up? There is something at home looking for her. Oh, okay. I turned and went into the room. I woke up Truly, who was sleeping soundly. Annie, your brother is looking for you. She mumbled sleepily. I don't have a brother. Garth. Truly suddenly sat up. Damn. When she went out, she looked completely hopeless. I was puzzled. I went to the shooting site on time. Then, I was changing clothes in the small dressing room. Suddenly, I heard the conversation next door. You deliberately hid it from me and let Lore and Mackenzie collaborate? It was Garth. The person opposite didn't speak. It should be Truly. Garth seemed to be angry. Do you know that you are making trouble? Of course I know. Truly shouted out in a venting manner. But do you think forcing Lore to be with you will have a good result? She will never love you. Let her go. Truly. Crying? Garth said in a deep voice. You don't understand at all. My mind was in a mess. The clothing teacher outside was getting impatient. Anne. Have you changed your clothes yet? The next door suddenly became quiet. When we met again, Garth still had a stinky face. Truly stood beside him and waved at me slightly. Theft. Mackenzie suddenly laughed. Your desk mate is quite cute. Thinking of Truly. There was also a smile in my eyes. Indeed. As soon as I turned my head, Garth's face became even stinker. It made me feel scared. After shooting a few more scenes, the director told us to take a break. I was still thinking about the conversation I overheard earlier. I went back to the lounge alone. There was water on the table, but as soon as I took a sip, I found something wrong with the taste. The whole person fell on the chair. When I woke up, my hands and feet were tied up and I was leaning against the protective fence on the rooftop. A middle-aged man in security uniform was looking at me with a disgusting look. You're awake. His voice was cold. I tried to stay calm. Don't be impulsive. As long as you don't hurt me, we can talk about any conditions. Any conditions? He looked at every inch of my exposed skin like a venomous snake. Because of you, little bitch. I spent more than 10 years in prison. My wife and kids all left. In prison. Those bastards didn't treat me like a human. Now when I see women, I can't even get hard. You said we can talk about any conditions. Talk about your mother's talk. As he spoke, he became more and more excited and waved the fruit knife in his hand wildly. My head exploded with a bang. The robber in front of me gradually overlapped with that figure from many years ago. It was him. I couldn't help retching. 12 years ago. After the commercial shooting ended, the director took a group of us kids to eat at KFC. I was playing in the children's play area with another little boy. There was a man who kept talking to us. He asked the little boy where our parents were. The little boy said they were all at home. Then the man picked me up and took me into the bathroom. The sweaty smell on the robber was like an indelible stain from years ago, firmly gripping my senses. It seemed that I was that crying little girl from many years ago again, unable to stop those dirty hands in the narrow bathroom. His blade was already against my neck. Bitch. It's all your fault. Just when I thought I was really going to die, Garth appeared. He was carrying 2 large suitcases. Because he was using too much force, his knuckles were turning bluish white. As soon as the robber saw him, his emotions became even more unstable. Damn it. You little brat. You finally came. Garth's voice was hoarse and deep. Don't you want to know what I brought? He opened one of the suitcases in front of the robber. Inside were stacks of neatly arranged banknotes. His hand hanging by his side slowly clenched. With this money, you can go anywhere you want and do anything you want. With money, everything can start over. As long as you let Anne-Laure go. I promise all of this will be yours. While softly tempting the robber, Garth secretly moved closer to me. The robber who was holding me was breathing rapidly, and was obviously shaken by this scene. But in the next second, when he noticed Garth approaching, he immediately tightened his grip on my neck viciously. Is having money great? I have nothing left. What's the use of money? Want to save her? He pointed at the protective fence menacingly with the tip of his knife. Jump down from here and I'll let her go. Crazy. I wanted to say. Garth. Don't be stupid. It's better to have one die than 2. But I couldn't speak because I was being choked. A fishy sweetness rose in my chest. Garth's body was tense. Okay. But don't hurt her anymore. I felt that my face was full of tears. Garth slowly walked towards the edge of the rooftop. The robber stared at him intently and unconsciously loosened his grip on me. Garth. I squeezed his name out of my throat with difficulty. He suddenly turned around and pulled out a stack of scattered banknotes from his arms and threw them into the air. This action was so sudden that the robber was stunned subconsciously. Garth took the opportunity to grab my arm and pull me into his arms. In a flash, there was a gunshot. He covered my eyes. His palm was full of sweat. Don't be afraid. My heart was pounding. But does Garth know how pale and ugly his own face is? He stared blankly at the hand that was supporting my lower back. On his palm was bright red blood. Anne-Laure. As early as when the robber went crazy and cursed at me, that knife had already stabbed me. I felt my consciousness gradually fading. In the distance, Truly was crying like a child. She rushed through the crowd with tears streaming down her face. Mom. Mom. I was sent to the ambulance. The doctor said I had lost too much blood. Truly cried and said that she had blood typo. But Garth stopped her. She can't use mine. Then, I heard Garth tell Truly that direct blood relatives cannot donate blood. This was the last sentence I heard. Until I woke up in the ICU. I still couldn't figure out what it meant. Truly often came to see me. Even more frequently than my parents. And she was very much to my mother's liking. My mother always murmured privately that Truly was good-looking. Today I was eating an apple while lying in bed. My mother was chatting affectionately with Truly. I took a bite. Looked at her. Took another bite. And looked at her again. That indescribable feeling finally dawned on me. The apple in my hand fell to the ground. Truly looked very much like my mother. Except for her eyes. Those eyes that were like Garth's. How so careless. My mother stood up to clean up. Truly immediately rushed ahead. I'll do it. My mother said with a smile. How can I let you do it? If our Lannon were half as obedient and sensible as you, I wouldn't have to worry so much. I was in great shock. I didn't even know when my parents left. Truly was peeling an apple for me. Will you go back to school later? Although the relevant information about the kidnapping case was blocked by the police, there were inevitably some rumors. I thought for a while, yes. After my mother's birthday. Truly said, isn't it coming soon? I thought you would stay for a few more days. Her movement of peeling the apple froze. I stared at her fixedly. Truly. How do you know my mother's birthday? Truly was silent for a long time. Then she dialed Garth's number in front of me. Dad, come over. It can't be hidden anymore. This was the first time I met Garth after the kidnapping case. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight. His jaw was tight. After a long time, he said, Truly is our child. She traveled from the future. Truly's tears kept falling. Mom. I gasped. Don't call me that yet. Let me take it easy. But even after they left for a long time, I still hadn't calmed down. The paternity test report that Garth brought was placed on the table. In black and white. It showed that Truly and I had a parent-child relationship. After this, Truly never came to the hospital again. When I returned to school, I found out that she had gone abroad with Garth. I suddenly felt a sense of loss. Even in a divorce, the custody of the child should be shared equally. I muttered silently. But soon, preparing for the college entrance examination took up all my time and energy. The gap that opened up with my classmates during my hospitalization could only be made up by doing a lot of practice questions. It wasn't until the day the results were announced that I finally breathed a sigh of relief. There were many people congratulating me, but there was no Truly and Garth. They seemed to have suddenly disappeared from my life, after dropping a huge bombshell on me. In the summer vacation after graduating from high school, I received a campus romantic comedy. Coincidentally, the male lead is Mackenzie. Since we both applied to the same school, our CP super topic has been unrivaled. So there is this third collaboration. Mackenzie's role is a school bully. The stylist specially designed a wolf-tail hairstyle for him. He is currently having his makeup and hair done. I was so absorbed in looking at him. The stylist teased me. Does Lannon think our school bully is handsome? I inexplicably thought of Garth's red hair. Quite handsome. I still had some with Mackenzie in our collaboration. In the middle, he stammered and asked me, will Truly come to visit the set? I frowned and immediately perked up to re-examine him. I used to think he was not bad in the circle. Now I see flaws everywhere. I walked away coldly. The days on the set were quite interesting. But recently I always felt that someone was following me. After checking the surveillance several times, nothing happened. My agent laughed at me for being like a frightened bird. Today, when I went to the pantry to pour water, I accidentally saw a sneaky figure in the reflective glass of the coffee machine. He was wearing a dark sports suit. His mask and baseball cap covered his face tightly. Obviously not a good person. I pretended to be drinking water. In fact, I quickly sent a message to my agent with my phone. That person crouched down and looked towards my position. He started getting closer and closer to me. Suddenly, Mackenzie charged from afar and pounced on him. He was so scared that he yelped. This voice. I wanted to speak, but it was already too late. Mackenzie suddenly pulled off the other person's mask. It was Truly. She pushed Mackenzie away, both ashamed and annoyed. Mackenzie stammered, You. Truly glared at him hard. She aggrieved came up to me. It hurts so much. I helped her rub her waist and asked softly, Why are you dressed like this? She pulled me towards the lounge. Isn't this to give you a surprise? I was speechless. But thinking about how badly she fell, I still swallowed the words in my mouth. After taking a few steps, Mackenzie's belated apology came from behind. Sorry. Truly waved her hand impatiently. Under the bright light in the lounge, I noticed the deep dark circles under Truly's eyes. Why are your dark circles so heavy? She rubbed her eyes and said with a grin, Isn't it because I miss you so much? Actually, I miss her very much too. I hesitated and asked, Did you come back with Garth? Truly shook her head. He is still abroad. I uttered an oh. I couldn't tell what I was feeling. Truly seemed very tired. After chatting for a few words, she actually fell asleep on the sofa. I turned up the air conditioner a few degrees. Then I went to the set. During filming, Mackenzie hesitantly asked me about Truly. I'm really sorry about what happened today. I'll treat you and Truly to dinner tonight. Is that okay? There's no need to apologize. This is not your fault. It's my misunderstanding. But, Truly agreed immediately, with a drawn-out tone. As for dinner, I'll ask Truly later. However, this meal was a bit awkward. I knew that Mackenzie had other motives, but I didn't know that Truly actually still wanted to pair me up with him. Why on earth? I really couldn't figure it out. Truly evaded the question. Anyway, you two are a perfect match. His eyes are almost always on you. And you say we are a perfect match. If I were a perfect match with him, where would you come from? Thinking about it, I blushed on my own. When Truly shouldn't be perceptive. She was particularly perceptive, still not admitting it. Your face is red. I covered her mouth. Shut up. Vaguely. I seemed to guess something. Truly. What exactly is the future you experienced? Why are you so convinced that I like Mackenzie? Truly hesitated in her tone. Do you really want to know? I nodded. Truly slowly began to speak. When I was just born, my mom died. In my memory, Garth was a madman. He never told me who my mom was. It wasn't until I grew up that I found out that you were a big star. Although you married my dad, you didn't like him. Before giving birth, you eloped with someone. There was a car accident. And in the end, only I was left. Wait. Are you sure it's really like this? So melodramatic. And all three people seem mentally ill? Truly was very certain. Yes. Did you tell Garth the same thing? Yeah. No wonder. This is the first time I've filmed a drama, and he's not by my side. Truly's eyes were darting around. Why are you asking this? Do you care a lot about Garth's thoughts? Do you actually like my dad? I covered my ears with a quilt. Go to sleep. Truly sighed reluctantly. After a while, I said in a muffled voice, but I know that I won't marry someone I don't like. Through the quilt, I heard Truly's slight snoring. This little pig. I and Mackenzie have a strong fan base. Even before the drama is finished filming, we have gained a group of passerby fans through behind-the-scenes clips but I didn't expect that in the midst of the industry's high expectations, I would encounter the largest-scale cyber violence since my debut. Since her debut, she has attracted fanatical pursuit with her good looks and excellent acting skills. And there will inevitably be corresponding backlash. That kidnapping case was brought up in a frivolous and joking tone. I was clearly the victim. But I became the perpetrator who caused the tragedy of fanatical fans in his words. Even that molestation against me 12 years ago became insignificant in his writing. At the same time, someone found the personal information of the robber. He once had a glamorous and decent job and a happy family. Batch after batch of people who knew him appeared in the comment section. I'm his classmate. I remember he was quite a nice person. To be honest, molestation can't be sentenced to 12 years. Right? It's terrifying to think about. Could the economic crime and the combined punishment be framed? It's hard to say. After all, that person has a big shot. As soon as he got out of prison, he died. Think about this. Think about it carefully. Countless malicious words came crashing down on me. The company removed the trending topics as quickly as possible and issued a solemn statement. But that piece of judgment was far less popular than the false news spraying through various channels. Some people sympathized with me. But more people were looking at me with malicious intent. Truly didn't let me touch electronic devices. My parents pretended to be fine in front of me. Everyone in the crew was also trying hard to take care of my emotions. The filming proceeded smoothly. Soon, I finished filming. That was the happiest day for me recently. I told Truly that I wanted to drink cold milk and asked her to buy it for me. After she left, I rolled up my sleeves. There were scars on my arms. I tried my best to immerse myself in work and not think about the rumors on the internet. But even when I was filming, I would suddenly think of a malicious comment. I would cry for no reason. The place that had given me countless kindness suddenly abandoned me. I walked towards the rooftop in a daze. At this moment, a pair of hands tightly wrapped around my waist and hugged me back into his arms in a resolute and cherished way. He let out a low. I felt a tickle in my throat. Garth? Truly said you were abroad. As soon as I saw the news, I came back. The summer heat made this hug long and scorching. At first, neither of us moved. Slowly, I began to sob softly, and then burst into loud crying. He comforted me by patting my back. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There was an imperceptible loneliness and vicissitude in Garth's usually indifferent eyes. He always said don't be afraid. But he seemed even more afraid than me. Garth held my face extremely carefully and dried my tears bit by bit. His voice was hoarse. Don't give up on yourself. Everything will be fine. The milk that Truly bought for me spilled all over the place. She cried even worse than me. Sorry. Sorry. I shouldn't have left. I couldn't help but want to cry again. I must be the worst mom in the world. How could I abandon my child so many times? Garth silently hugged the two of us. At this moment, we really became a family. The next day, I went to see a psychologist. Her surname is Chen. She is very gentle, and about the same age as my parents. Dr. Chen asked me to draw the emotions that I couldn't express. After getting the drawing paper, she frowned slightly. Only then did I realize that I had never walked out of the nightmare 12 years ago, although I had received psychological treatment at that time. But that strange and huge fear triggered my sense of shame that I was ashamed to talk about myself. All my emotions were buried deep in my heart and finally exploded completely in the cyber violence. Dr. Kern's voice was steady. If you want to deal with your emotions, first you have to face it squarely. She put warm water by my hand. It's okay. I will help you. As the new drama of me and Mackenzie aired, those rumors once again swept the entire internet. But Truly said that my state has improved a lot recently. I no longer feel sad because of how others treat me. I no longer let my emotions be trapped by others. At the same time, the police found the person who first spread rumors and maliciously slandered me. I told Garth that I wanted to go to the police station. To my surprise, the other person was not very old, even around my age. When he saw me, he even had the leisure to mock me. Oh, the big star is here. I observed him carefully and was sure that we had never met before. You hate me very much. It was not a question but a statement. The police said that on his social media platforms, many of his commonly used accounts were professional anti-fans of me. He cursed. Are you fucking sick? Coming here to ask for scolding. I'm annoyed just looking at you. I shook my head. Truly hopeless. I will file a lawsuit for defamation and infringement of reputation rights. Even if you don't bear criminal responsibility, you also need to pay corresponding civil compensation. He sneered distaffanially. During the conversation, a middle-aged man was led in by the police. It was his father. As soon as his father saw him, he was furious. You little brat. Causing trouble for me again. Then he said arrogantly to me, I think we should settle this privately. I heard that you are a star. If this gets big, it won't look good for anyone. I lowered my head and couldn't help laughing. Like father. Like son. I was about to leave. His father reached out to grab me. But Garth slapped his hand away with hidden strength. It shocked him so much that his hand was numb and painful. He still wanted to pester. Garth gave him a cold look. Mr. Lee. See you in court. He instantly froze in place. In the car, Garth asked me where to go. I was originally going to say home, but I left a book at the clinic last time, so I asked him to take me to drive. Chen's place. The book was kept at the front desk. After I got it, I was about to leave. When passing through the corridor, I suddenly found that Garth downstairs was chatting with Drive. Chen. From a distance. I couldn't hear clearly, but they seemed very familiar. Before leaving, after a folder, Chen patted Garth on the shoulder. This was an encouraging gesture. When I went downstairs, Garth was standing by the car waiting for me. His eyes that were like a deep pool rippled slightly when he saw me. Home? Home. After sending me home. Garth didn't mean to get out of the car. These days, we tacitly didn't talk about the meaning of that hug. Although Truly lived in my house, Garth and I were more like separated by a layer of veil. He always kept a not too close and not too far distance from me. And I didn't have time to think about what I wanted. I unbuckled my seatbelt and asked him in a low voice, "Do you want to come up?" Garth's Adam's apple moved slightly. To my surprise, Truly called Mackenzie. As soon as Garth saw Mackenzie, he was visibly in a bad mood. But Mackenzie greeted him innocently, "Brother Chu. Long time no see." Garth narrowed his long eyes and pulled the corner of his mouth unkindly. "Don't call me brother." Mackenzie was completely unaware. Sure. Garth exuded an even stronger air of displeasure. I carefully glanced at Truly. She was watching Garth and Mackenzie's confrontation with great interest. I suddenly felt a headache. None of the three people were in the right state. At Truly's strong request, we ordered hot pot. But Mackenzie and I could only pitifully eat clear soup. Truly even turned on the TV to watch our newly aired idol drama. It happened to be the episode where the male and female leads confirmed their relationship. The male lead affectionately told the female lead, "Your name is my biggest secret in the past 3 years." Wow. Garth's expression Leslie swished the meat. I lowered my head guiltily for no reason. Soon, a bowl of cooked beef was placed in front of me. Garth said, "Eat quickly." Mackenzie was lost in thought. He imitated Garth and started cooking things for Truly, filling one bowl after another. But Truly widened her eyes. "Don't put everything in my bowl just because you can't finish it." Okay. Throughout the evening, Garth didn't know how many cold glares he gave Mackenzie. After eating, he immediately sent him away. Closing the door was a smooth action. But Mackenzie didn't think so. Even if I have no confidence in my character, I still have confidence in my aesthetics. Who knew that this sentence was just heard by Garth, who had just finished cleaning up the living room? His light-colored eyes were extremely calm. Like the sea before a storm. Garth put on his coat and said inferently, "I'll go first." I was stunned for a moment before chasing out, "Wait. Wow. The apartment I live in has one elevator for one household." Garth was still waiting for the elevator. But when I chased after him, I didn't know what I wanted to say. "Garth. Have we met before?" "A long time ago. Even longer ago." The floor numbers displayed on the elevator kept flashing. He avoided answering and asked me instead, "Aren't you worried about that future that Truly said?" This was exactly the reason why we had never pierced that layer of paper. Knowing that the future is a tragedy. Do we still have to repeat the same mistakes? I don't know. The elevator arrived. I didn't react for a long time. Garth walked into the elevator. The door slowly closed. His eyes also darkened little by little. I don't know what the future will be like. But I don't want to lose the possibility with you. Don't go. As soon as the words fell, a slender and thin hand was placed on the elevator door with only a little gap left. The elevator responded to an emergency and reopened. I was startled by his impulsive action. "Are you crazy? It's so dangerous." In the next second, I was hugged into his arms. I asked in a muffled voice, "You still haven't told me. Have we met before? Haven't you already guessed it?" Garth sighed. "Are you the little boy who filmed the chocolate commercial with me and played with me in the children's playground?" My throat was dry. When I was a child, I often filmed commercials with a little boy. But after that incident, he disappeared. I even forgot that I had such a playmate when I was a child. Garth's eyes were reddish. "Sorry. If I hadn't said the wrong thing, you wouldn't." I shook my head. It was definitely not our fault. Thinking of his familiarity with dried Chen, I asked hoarsely, "Are you also sick?" Garth pursed his lips. "Yes. Post-traumatic stress disorder." No wonder Garth had an almost morbid obsession with my personal safety. "Will you mind?" He was a little nervous. My tears rolled down in large drops. "Then did you go abroad because Is it because you fell into emotional problems again? So you and Truly left without saying goodbye. So Truly looked so tired when she returned to the country. Garth's fingertips trembled slightly. I hate myself for not being able to protect you every time. No. You are always by my side at the first time. On the rooftop. It was you who grabbed me. 12 years ago. It was you who cried and asked people to open that door. Garth. You are the last person who should trap yourself. Don't cry. He said softly. Truly didn't know when she stood by the door. She was also full of tears. I waved at her. She ran over and hugged me like a bird returning to the forest. Mom. Epilogue. On the day Anne-Laure died. Garth was at the police station. A few days ago. Someone brought up the matter of Anne-Laure being molested when she was a child. Anne-Laure was pregnant. Because of those vulgar comments. She was so angry that she almost fainted. Today. The police notified Garth that the rumor monger had been found. He came to the police station to demand that the other party bear legal responsibility. That person was a troublemaker and full of dirty words. Garth asked the lawyer to find the other party's parents and forced him to write an apology letter by both soft and hard means. He knew this was the knot in Anne-Laure's heart all along. But unexpectedly, just when he was about to go home, he received a call from the hospital. Anne-Laure had a car accident. He trembled and signed the critical notice. The doctor shook his head and left the ICU. A child was saved. But Anne-Laure was gone. This was already a great tragedy. But unexpectedly, after Anne-Laure died, there were still people who wanted to suck her blood. Anne-Laure was emotionally unstable due to cyber violence. She always went out alone and walked on the street aimlessly. That day, she happened to meet Mackenzie. Mackenzie was going to take her home. But at the crossroads, they collided with a drunk driving truck. At the critical moment, Mackenzie turned the steering wheel towards Anne-Laure's side, leaving a glimmer of hope for the child. Ironically, this became ironclad evidence for them to slander the impure relationship between Anne-Laure and Mackenzie. Garth almost went crazy and deleted all the information related to Anne-Laure on the internet. He never wanted anyone to talk about Anne-Laure casually and hurt Anne-Laure again, including himself. His and Anne-Laure's child was congenitally deficient and lay in an incubator. Tiny. Even the nurse felt distressed looking at it, and asked what the child's name was. He was stunned in place and said, "Her name is Truly." From then on, he never mentioned it again. Only in my heart. I miss her day and night.